You ever notice how some people can sell anything and somehow it never feels like they're selling? You walk away from the conversation thinking, that actually sounds like my idea. Yeah, that's not luck, that's psychology. There's this whole side of communication most people never learn, how the human brain really makes buying decisions. And when you understand it, it's like having a cheat code for influence. Now, before we go all dark side, I want to say this. None of this is about manipulation. These are tools. Tools you can use for good to help people make decisions that actually serve them. Because the truth is, every single sale, whether you're selling a product, an idea, or yourself, comes down to psychology. And when you use it ethically, it doesn't make you a better seller, it makes you a better communicator, period. So today, I want to walk you through 9 dark psychology sales techniques that top closers use every day, and how you can apply them ethically to sell anything without ever feeling salesy. Quick note, for anyone who's new here, I'm Jeff Hershey. I'm the founder of a company called Reviewly.ai, and I help business owners and marketers use AI to scale trust, automate growth, and build actual momentum online. But the tech's only half the story, because behind every great tool is the human psychology that makes it work. All right, let's dive in. Starting with the foundation that every sale, every conversation, and every yes is built on. Technique number 1, the pain principle. Pain before pleasure. Here's something most people don't want to admit about selling. If there's no pain, there's no sale. You could have the best offer, the slickest pitch, the coolest tech. None of it matters if the other person doesn't feel the cost of staying stuck. See, the strongest motivator for human behavior isn't pleasure, it's pain. When people finally move, when they finally buy, sign up, commit, it's because they want to end something painful. That might be stress, confusion, lost time, embarrassment, frustration, but it always starts there. Most folks do the opposite. They talk about features and benefits. It's faster, smarter, it's got AI. And their prospect nods politely, then does nothing. Why? Because logic doesn't move people. Emotion does. Here's a real world example. Imagine a business owner who knows they should be asking for reviews, but they don't. It's awkward, it feels pushy, and life's busy. So they don't do it. And they lose ranking on Google, lose trust, and slowly lose customers to the competitor who just has a few more stars. That's pain. And when they finally feel that, when they realize every uncollected review is another customer gone, then they act. That's when Reviewly becomes the obvious solution in my space, not because of AI or automation or fancy QR codes, but because it removes that pain point of asking. Pain before pleasure. You show people the cost of doing nothing before you show them a reward of saying yes. That's where every great sale begins. Technique number 2, escalate the pain. Most people live with a quiet frustration they've just accepted as normal. They tell themselves, yeah, business is fine, or maybe next year will be better. That's what we call latent pain, the kind that hides underneath everyday life. But here's the thing, latent pain doesn't create action. People don't move until they realize the pain is actually holding them back. Your job, if you want to sell effectively, is to turn that latent pain into a realized one. And then if you want them to take action, you turn it into extreme pain, the kind that's impossible to ignore. Let's say you're talking to a local restaurant owner and they've been around for a few years, decent traffic, decent food, but their Google page looks like a ghost town. They've got maybe 10 reviews from 2019, 2 bad ones at the top, and that's it. They don't even notice anymore. That's latent pain. Then you show them how most customers choose where to eat based on reviews and how their competitor just down the street, same menu, similar pricing, is dominating online because they've got 200 5-star reviews. Now that becomes realized pain. Then you ask, if that gap keeps growing, where do you think you'll be 6 months from now? That's extreme pain. You didn't lie, you didn't manipulate, you just helped them see clearly. And once people see the truth of their situation, it becomes automatic. When they finally say, all right, what do I do? That's when your offer lands. That's when Reviewly becomes the bridge, a simple 90-second setup that closes that painful gap between invisibility and authority. So don't shy away from pain. Magnify it, illuminate it, then show them the escape route. Technique number 3, the discomfort switch. Here's one of the hardest truths in sales and in life. People don't change when they're comfortable. Growth doesn't happen inside comfort zones. Transformation always starts with a little tension. Now, most people try to make everything feel smooth and safe. They avoid tough questions, soften the truth, and they try to keep it friendly. But if someone's too comfortable, they're not moving. They're nodding, they're not deciding. So here's the move. Lean into discomfort, not to be pushy, but to be real. Let me give you an example. Years ago, I was on a call with a business owner who swore she wanted to grow. She said all the right things. I'm ready to scale. I just need the right systems. But when we got down to what was really holding her back, I asked, can I be honest with you? I don't think it's your system. I think it's your comfort. She went quiet. And then she said, yeah, I guess I've been scared to do something different. Boom. That's the moment everything shifted. See, it's not about creating discomfort. It's about allowing it. When you give people permission to sit in that tension, they start to realize what's actually possible on the other side of it. Same thing happens with business owners and reviews. No one likes asking customers for feedback. It just feels awkward. So they avoid it and they miss out on hundreds of opportunities to build trust. That's why Reviewly works. It handles the discomfort for you. It automates what most people avoid: asking for reviews, follow up, responding. So growth happens naturally without that awkward, can you leave us a review moment, right? So here's a takeaway. If you want to help someone change, don't keep them comfortable. Guide them through the discomfort, because that's where decisions live. Technique number 4, radical transparency. Most people think selling means hiding your flaws, that you should only show the good parts and bury the rest under confidence and charm. But here's the thing, that approach screams salesperson. You know what actually builds trust? Radical honesty. When you point out the potential downside before they even ask, you short circuit their skepticism. So you stop sounding like someone trying to close them, and you start sounding like someone trying to help them. Here's how it plays out. Let's say you're selling a service that takes time, maybe a 6 or 12-month process. Instead of dancing around it, you say it straight up. Look, this isn't an overnight thing. You'll start seeing results in a few months, but it's a long-term play. If you're after quick fixes, this probably isn't for you. That honesty does 2 things instantly. Number 1, it builds credibility because you're upfront. 2, it filters out the wrong people. I've seen this a million times. By filtering out the wrong people, it actually makes the right ones lean in harder and understand the process. It's the same thing with Reviewly. When we tell people, yeah, it takes a few days to start seeing momentum, but once it kicks in, it compounds. We're not hiding anything. We're earning trust by being real about what it takes. Radical transparency turns honesty into your secret weapon. It disarms defenses, builds credibility, and makes people think, finally, someone who's actually telling me the truth. Because in a world where everyone's trying to sound perfect, authenticity is magnetic. Technique number 5, pull, don't push. Here's one of the biggest mindset shifts in selling. You don't chase people into buying. You pull them toward the right direction. See, amateurs try to convince. Pros create desire. When you push, people resist. When you pull, they lean in. Think of it like this. The more you chase someone, the faster they run. But when you create something valuable, rare, and clearly positioned, they start qualifying themselves to you. That's why high-end brands never sound desperate. Ferrari doesn't beg you to buy a car. They ask you to qualify. It's an energy thing. And the same dynamic applies everywhere. When you're selling something truly valuable, whether it's a product, a service, or a transformation, your job isn't to pressure people into buying. It's to show them the truth of their situation so clearly that they decide they need it. For example, when someone asks me about Reviewly, I don't say, you should totally sign up. I'll say it works best for business owners who actually care about their reputation and want to automate reviews the right way. Does that sound like you? Now, they're not being sold, they're deciding. That's pull energy. It's calm, it's confident, it's controlled. And it's 1,000 times more persuasive than pushy. Because when people sense that you don't need them to buy, they start realizing how much they actually want what you have. Technique number 6, the scarcity mirror. This is the cost of an action. Most people think the biggest fear in sales is spending money. It's not. The real fear, the one that keeps people stuck for years, is the cost of doing nothing. Think about it. When someone's considering buying from you, there's already pain. They're already looking for a way out. But the human brain loves safety. So it tells them, wait, think about it, maybe later. That maybe later is the most expensive phrase in business. Here's how you flip it. Don't just talk about what they'll gain if they say yes. Make them see what they'll lose if they don't. If you're selling a service, you might say, every month this problem goes unsolved, you're not just losing time, you're losing opportunities, customers, and compounding growth. Let's bring it down to something simple. Say you're talking to a local business owner who's getting 5 reviews a month. Their competitor getting 20. That gap doesn't just stay the same, it widens every week. And with each review they don't get, they slide a little bit lower on Google. Less visibility means fewer customers, which means thousands in lost revenue over time. So yeah, the cost of a tool like Reviewly might be $199 a month, but the cost of doing nothing, tens of thousands in lost visibility. You're not fear-mongering, you're reframing. You're helping people see that indecision is actually the most dangerous decision of all. So don't just ask what happens if you do this, ask what happens if you don't. Because when they realize staying stuck is scarier than moving forward, the decision becomes easy. Technique number 7, one of my favorite, tonality control, the calm authority. If there's one skill that separates average salespeople from the ones who close deals in their sleep, it's this, how they sound. Because people don't just buy your words, they buy your certainty. You can say the right script, have all the perfect phrasing, but if your tone says, I'm unsure, they'll feel it. And once someone feels hesitation, the deal's gone. Here's what most people get wrong. They speak fast, they upward inflect at the end of sentences, and they fill silence with nervous chatter. It screams, please like me. You don't want that. You want calm authority, steady pace, downward inflection, confidence without aggression. When you say your price, say it once, clearly, and then stop talking. That silence, that's power. Because confident people don't need to justify. Early on, I used to over-explain everything. The more I talked, the less people trusted me. But when I started slowing down, speaking like someone who already knew the value, things shifted instantly. And it's funny, even AI can write words, but you can't fake tone. That's your advantage as a human. Your tone carries emotion, conviction, and energy that no script ever will. When you say, yeah, it's $3,000 for the full package, and you just pause, the other person subconsciously thinks that's probably what everybody pays. That's tonality control. It's authority through calmness. So remember, it's not what you say, it's how you say it, because certainty sells more than persuasion ever could. Technique number 8, vision selling, the future frame. Here's a mistake almost everyone makes. They sell the process instead of the promise. They talk about what's included, how it works, how many modules, how many calls, how many features, and all the prospect hears is work. People don't buy work, they buy results. They buy the destination. If you've ever booked a vacation, you didn't fall in love with airport security, right? You bought the feeling of toes in the sand, drink in hand, no Slack notifications for a week. That's what vision is selling. You don't sell people the plane ride, you sell them paradise. It's the same in business. If I tell someone Reviewly gives you QR codes, NFC cards, SMS automation, and AI review responses, blah, 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 They're nodding, but they're not excited. But if I say, imagine opening your laptop and seeing 50 new 5-star reviews, your Google ranking jump to the top, and customers choosing you before they even meet you, now we're talking emotion. Now it's real. Vision selling taps into imagination, and the brain doesn't know the difference between imagining success and living it. That's why it's so powerful. When you paint that picture vividly enough, they start to feel it. And once they feel it, they'll do whatever it takes to make it feel real. So next time you pitch, stop selling the steps. Sell the state, the confidence, the freedom, the security, because at the end of the day, nobody buys the thing. They buy what the thing means for them. Technique number 9, Maniac follow-up. This is the last mile. Here's the truth most salespeople don't want to hear. The fortune isn't in the first conversation, it's in the follow-up. Everyone loves the chase at the beginning. New leads, new opportunities, fresh excitement. It's like dating for the first time. But when it comes to actually following up, most people vanish after 2 messages. They send a text, maybe an email, don't hear back, and move on. Meanwhile, someone like me is still calling, sending videos, dropping voice notes, and guess who closes the deal? Not because I'm better, because I'm still there when everyone else gave up. Here's why it works. Persistence signals belief. It says, I care enough to keep showing up, and people feel that. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a fine line between professional persistence and harassment. But when you follow up with creativity, humor, and heart, case studies, it never feels pushy. You can say things like, hey, Sarah, I feel like we've developed a pretty deep relationship, mostly with your voicemail, but based on what you told me, I still think we can help you fix this. Want me to keep that spot open? It's light, it's human, and it works. And that's the same principle behind Reviewly. It's built for follow-up. Most business owners don't ask for reviews, not because they don't care, but because they forget or it just feels awkward. So Reviewly does it automatically. No awkward text, guilt, lost opportunities. Follow-up isn't annoying. It's respect in action. It says your success matters enough for me not to quit on you. So go Maniac mode. Respectfully, relentless, thoughtfully, consistent. Because the last mile is the least crowded. And that's where winners like you live. Ready for the closing segment? All right, we just walked through 9 dark psychology sales techniques that can help you sell anything. But if you look a little closer, you'll notice something deeper going on. Every one of these tactics isn't really about manipulation, it's about understanding human nature. People buy when they feel heard and understood. They move when they believe it matters, and they trust when you show up as real, not just rehearsed. That's why the best salespeople don't close deals. They open decisions. They don't trick people, they help them see clearly. They don't force, they guide. And when you approach selling that way, it stops feeling like selling. It starts feeling like serving. So when you're pitching an idea, a service, or a new AI tool, remember, these principles work because they're built on truth. Lead with empathy. Use these tactics with integrity, and the results will take care of themselves. Now, if this kind of stuff gets you fired up like it does me, the mix of psychology, AI, and ethical influence, you're going to love what we're doing in the Skool community. That's where we dive deep into this kind of material, real world persuasion, business growth systems, and how I use AI tools like Reviewly to automate trust and scale results. You'll get over-the-shoulder frameworks, feedback, and a community of people who are testing, sharing, and growing together. The link's down in the description. Come hang out with us. Use these tactics wisely, use them ethically, and you'll start noticing something wild. You won't have to sell nearly as much because people will start selling themselves to you. All right, that's it for this one. Use psychology for good, stay dangerous, and I'll see you in the next video or inside the Skool group.